from its own 34. Will they snap it here? Yes, and Whittington slips. Washington takes over.
Speaking of what are we doing? Why did Oregon go for that fourth down? I don't know, man. I don't get it. Oregon goes down. Their 23-game win streak at home is snapped by Washington. Great game by Washington. And by the way, just a great game in general. That was an awesome game to watch. I was watching it in the plane when I was flying. Oregon goes for it on fourth down, tied with their backup quarterback in. I was like, wait, what's going on? And then in the back of my mind, I'm like, okay, like live by the sword, die by the sword, because they go for it on fourth down, and I get it. Okay, so it's a part of your DNA. Then Washington's trying to give the game away. So then Washington gets the ball. Run the ball. I mean, you're going to be kicking a field goal to go up, and if you do it right, Washington's going to kick that ball with like well under 30 seconds left in the game. But no, they start pitching it around, and all of a sudden, Oregon has a lot more time to play with, and they come down, and then the end of the game is drunk. Oregon has a cramp. It's the greatest timing of a cramp in the history of cramps, which, yeah, that's suspect. Then there was the whole, illegal touching with the out of bounds. I mean, it was the last 2 minutes of that game was drunk. I don't know what was happening. Washington ends up winning. Oregon had played so well since that opening loss to Georgia, and they had garnered such positive sentiment from around the country. Okay, Bo Nix transfers in. Dan Lanning comes up from SEC country, and everybody was looking at Oregon. Could Oregon get into the playoff? Nope. They lose a week before they host Utah. Then in the nightcap, you go down to the Rose Bowl. UCLA facing Arizona. UCLA is a really good football team. They've got a veteran quarterback. They've got a running back that is an absolute workhorse. What do? Lose at home to Arizona. And the only conclusion is you start to rip your hair out and you start to think to yourself, the Pac-12 can't have nice things. They just cannibalize themselves all the time. So, I mean, Arizona has no business beating UCLA, in particular at UCLA. And I get it, they're college-age kids, but a couple of things are true about the Pac-12. The Pac-12 took a major step backwards in their hopes for a college football playoff team. And part of that is that they just don't have an elite program in the conference. I know that sounds bad, but they don't. And I'm talking about a program that recruits at a level and plays at a level that is so high that they're able to withstand a tough conference schedule and still be elite. You see, in the Pac-12, that's not the case. There's nobody like that yet. No, will USC get there? Who knows? Because they only got one more year left, so probably not. But the middle of that conference is too close to the top of the conference. You see, in the other conferences around the country, in particular in the SEC and in the Big Ten, and I think this could probably be said in the ACC, obviously, with Clemson and maybe even this year with TCU. But the best team in those conferences, and in many cases the best 2 or 3 teams in those conferences, are much better than the middle of the conference, okay? Because their teams are elite, like some of the best in college football. When you don't have that separation and you couple that with playing a 9-game conference schedule, you're going to cannibalize yourself. It's just going to happen. It's too hard for a team to go through a schedule of 9 conference games and come out unscathed. Okay, at least 1 loss, and in several cases, as we're seeing, 2. So the evidence bears this out, by the way. Of the conferences that play a 9 conference game schedule and a conference championship game, so you've got the Big 12, you've got the Big 10, and you got the Pac-12. Of those three conferences, all the years that they've done a 9-conference game regular season, do you know that there's only been one instance, only one, of a team going 10-0 through a gauntlet like that? 9 conference games in the regular season and a conference championship game. That team was an elite team. It was the 2019 Ohio State Buckeyes that lost the epic game to Trevor Lawrence in the college football playoff semifinal. That was a great team. Chase Young was on that team. Justin Fields was on that team. J.K. Dobbins was on that team. That defense was amazing with Fuller out there. The corners were great. Like that was a great football team. They're the only ones that have done it. Now, in the COVID year, Bama also went undefeated through their conference play. And that team, by the way, also not only just an elite team, an historically elite team with Mac Jones and Devontae Smith and Najee Harris and those guys. So that's the level of team that it takes to get through a season undefeated of a 9-conference game regular season and a conference championship game. It just doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. So the schedule makeup does not help. And the fact that you don't have a team at that elite level, like it's just going to happen. You get an injury here or there, you get the wrong day, you get the wrong bounce, and you get beat. And so that's what's happened now. And now the playoff chances for the Pac-12 are on life support. Why are they on life support? Because it's down to one. There's only one team that can possibly be included in the college football playoff, and that's USC. So then you start looking at USC's chances, and I got to tell you, I don't know. USC's defense needs to improve, and it needs to improve drastically if they want to even win this week against UCLA. They still have Notre Dame, and that's a Notre Dame team that's getting much better, in particular running the football, and that's exactly where USC is weak. So, and then they would have to go in and win a Pac-12 championship game. Uphill battle for the Pac-12. Uphill battle. USC is a really good team with a really good offense, but that defense is a bit of a struggle. The last thing is, this conference was this close to having a showcase week like they haven't had in years. I can't remember a time in which the Pac-12 had 2 matchups on the same weekend that featured top 12 teams and maybe top 11, top 10 teams caliber. Can you remember? Like a showcase. We were about to have it. USC, UCLA this weekend. Utah at Oregon this weekend. Up in smoke. Oregon goes down at home. UCLA goes down at home. Man, can't have nice things. I tell you what. By the way, USC and UCLA, it is a little bit of news because it won't be on. Gus and I are not going with Big Noon this week. We are going to LA. We will call the USC-UCLA game in the Rose Bowl on Saturday night. That's 5 p.m. local, 8 p.m. On the East Coast. Gus and I will have the call of USC and UCLA.